Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Haggerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Oh, yeah, look at that. You know what that sound means. That means it's time for a brand new episode of Bid Nerds with my partner, Michael Deeb, in San Francisco in the new studio. Or is this just a temporary setup? I mean, what do we got going here, Michael Deeb? This is it? This
is the new fisting room. This is a studio under construction, in development, but it'll look a little bit like this, but we'll develop it. But yeah, this is it. I have my own office. I'm not in the basement with the rats and the muck and the mildew. And yeah, and you can no longer say I'm coming to you from San Francisco because now we're in Novato. Split screen.
Novato, which means a whole lot of, that means nothing to those of us who aren't in the San Francisco machine. You might hear that. What's that? Go ahead.
Yeah, drive across the Golden Gate Bridge about 25 minutes and you get to Novato.
Very nice. You might hear that noise in the background and another voice. So today we're mixing things up a little bit. Obviously, I'm in the Switcher Jesus spot because Gary is out of town. Wade is out driving his Ferrari around somewhere because he's just that guy. And we've got Sahan hanging out with us. What's up, Sahan? How you doing, buddy?
What's up, gentlemen?
The Persian pillow is in the house.
Racist.
Sahan, are you in Oakland or Vegas?
I am currently in Oakland.
All right, so two from the Bay Area. Yeah. Oh, actually, you might be.
Lies.
At this
Nobody's
hour.
Listening to your lies. Yeah.
All right, we are just getting started. If you were just joining us, wondering what the heck this show is, what we do is we play the prices right with enthusiast cars that you watch on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, Haggerty Marketplace, Mercedes Marketplace, all the auction sites. We dig through them. We make predictions to what we think will happen with those cars' auctions and their auction results, and then we tell you about how wrong we are on this very show. That's what we do, and we do it live right here every Sunday night and Wednesday night. And I think we're going to be trying. We're doing it. We go live 7:30 ish Pacific. But we really got to do a better job. I think we need to start doing this. I don't know, maybe like at 6 Pacific or maybe a little earlier. It's going to be hard to do that, but all you East Coast guys, we really appreciate you hanging out with us because we know it's pretty late over there on the East Coast right now. So for the nerds that are just getting ready, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Okay. Chris Carbine is hitting me up with a text going, "Are we live? Is this happening?" I'm going to fire up the Instagram machine. So Deeb, why don't you tell us a story real quick about Godden Classic and Godden Porsche
Absolutely. So Bid Nerds is sponsored proudly by Godden Porsche of Las Vegas, Nevada. 6-7 years ago, John and I were working together at Godden Porsche, and that's how we became friends. But Godden Porsche became the very first Porsche Classic partner in North America. They have the expertise, the parts, the facility, the passion, everything you need, the money behind it to be one of just about a dozen Porsche Classic partners in the United States. Mainly, they supply a catalog of like over 65,000 parts for almost every Porsche that's ever been built from the beginning. They also have technicians that have been vetted by Porsche AG of Germany. They're not vetted by Porsche Cars North America. This is a really strict process to become a Porsche Classic partner. So if you need a part, if you need your Classic serviced, or if you're just looking to buy or sell a Classic car, call Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and let them know that the Bid Nerds sent you.
That is correcto, sir. And we also got a shout out to our new sponsor. It's time for a new sponsor. Check your watch. It's time for a new sponsor, Our Smiths, up in Idaho. Our good friend Anthony Vieira. He was a Nerd Herd member. Found out about the show, and now his company sponsors the show. They provide fine Swiss service. If you have a Rolex, an AP, a Patek Philippe, a Panerai, any fine Swiss timepiece, Anthony is the best. I mean, look, they're machines, right? They need service just like your cars do. Godden will take care of you with your car, and Anthony Smiths will help you out with your fine watch. You know what he did? I've got this. Oh yeah, and then of course, go ahead. No, plug guys Customs. Come on.
I'm not rocking anything from our new sponsor, but JP, you might remember many years ago when we were just a couple of guys with a dream.
Right.
I'm rocking our very first original sponsor, Guys Customs, which you can find on Instagram and direct message them. They will make you men's fine jewelry, and they can do paint to sample beads. Like you can see, I've got what is this called? Rubino Rot Metallizzato beads, because at that time I was rocking that color Carrera. So Guys Customs still proudly sponsors the show. And every once in a while we F up and forget to thank them. My God, John, I mean, where would we be without Guys Customs?
That is so true. I'm going to shout out to the Instagram people. Since we're live on Instagram, you're not going to really be able to hear the whole show, but I've got us live on the Instagram just so you guys know we are live on YouTube right now. So switch over to YouTube and watch the show with special guest Sahan Faizi in Oakland. He's not being stabbed or anything. All right, so let's get to the cars. We made some predictions without Michael Deeb on the last episode. He was again stuck in the shitter or something. He claims he was moving, but we all know he has issues with his bowels.
I couldn't find my microphone.
It was in a box somewhere, right?
And I found it right before the show began, so we're good. Yeah, no problem.
You could have just rocked a couple of white privilege earbuds like Sahan here does.
I wouldn't have the nerve. I'm in the rolling credits, and I wouldn't do that. So we did 3 cars just a couple days ago. That are, a couple of them are near and dear to, actually all 3 are near and dear to my heart. So some really cool cars. We had John, Wade, and Mental in the studio, and unfortunately I was absent. But JP, pull up that really cool Lamborghini that was on Bring a Trailer. This is a car that after I sold my GT3, I was in San Diego, and the Lamborghini dealership had one of these on the showroom floor, and I was this close to buying a 2014 Lamborghini Gallardo LP562 50th Anniversario with a 6-speed manual transmission. Basically, this was Lamborghini saying goodbye to the Gallardo platform in preparation for the Huracan. And in so doing, they gave it their highest spec motor, which was 550 horsepower. They gave it rear-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive only. And then they gave it a gated 6-speed manual. These cars came in one color, the white. They came only with an Alcantara with racing bucket seats. These beautiful wheels and the carbon wing are understated. It's not, I would say, loud for a Lamborghini. And they only made 25 or 50 of these suckers. So they're really, really rare. On the final year, it was the last time you could get the V10 with 550 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, mated to a manual, and the wheels and the wing and the Alcantara. I mean, this is just a super cool car. They sound good. They drive beautifully. Those Ferrari gated manuals take a little while to learn, but I tell you what, I took one of these on a test drive, and the clutch was light and the shift was really precise and easy to do. Dare I say, and I'm a Ferrari guy, not a Lamborghini guy, these cars were just easier. With their gated manual in this car, it's just a really easy car to drive and really easy to fall in love with, John. This was a super cool car to drive and something that like Rami would get a kick out of, because you could really, you really get into it driving the car, and then the sound that it makes is just unbelievable. So our car's on Bring a Trailer. It was out in Weston, Connecticut, showing 21,000 miles. And I was correct the first time. There's just 25 of these in North America. So these cars were about $200,000 when they were brand new, and they've basically traded hands for years in that just over $200,000 mark. So right around that $220,000, $230,000 mark. But in the last couple of years, JP, these cars have kind of gone through the roof. Now, this one does have a few miles on it at 21,000, but show me another one that's for sale before the end of the year, and you'll understand why people were fighting over for this one. So in the studio, everybody liked the car. JP, you said 202. Wade took the over at 220,000, and then Mental took the under, well under you, at just $189,560. our car got the most action we've seen on any of the cars we've picked probably in the last month. Believe it or not, JP, this car got 58 bids before it sold for $285,560. 6 months ago, this car would have brought 300 grand. There is a softening in the market, John, even for, again, I wouldn't quite call this blue chip. And they're not technically numbered, but there's only 25 of them. And you've seen what manual Ferraris are bringing. It's sort of the same thing with these last of the Gallardos. And this was a special edition that they made only in manual. Again, this car bringing under 300, I'm not surprised. This car would have brought over 300 just a few months ago. But the market is softening. We're going into the winter. I think that is all the money. I think this guy did really well. The car sold, so I would say that the reserve was set realistically. I just wonder, John, as I send it back to you, if the guy knew what he had and he knew that they were bringing 300 a while ago, is he happy with that result? Chances are a guy that has a $300,000 Lamborghini doesn't really, have to worry too much about money. But, you just wonder. A few months ago, his car was worth more money. Is he sad about that, or did he just get off it? What do you think of the result?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see the car brought more money than I thought it would. This is one that I'm glad I lost. Because you do want a car like this to to still be appreciated. And I like the fact that it has miles on it, which is kind of rare for stuff like this. Usually something that's one of 25, people just hide away and never drive. Did we cover this car before when it sold before, or did we cover another one, maybe the same model?
Because I love this car, and I filled out the credit report. Like I was gonna the credit app.
Yeah.
I was gonna finance one of these suckers and buy it. I mean, I was dead serious about this car. We've covered, I think, 2 of them in the last couple of years. Yeah. We have covered. I don't think it was exactly this car. I'd have to go back and check, but we've covered a couple of anniversarios before with the manual. I love this car. I want you to drive one, and I want to see the look.
Yeah.
I want to see the look on your face while you drive it. And Sahan, I don't even have to say anything to you. You would love this car.
Well,
Plus, while you're driving it, you'd feel like you feel so baller. You're driving a manual V10 mid-engine. It's so sick.
Well, Sahan was watching in the chat on the last episode. Sahan, you came in at like 207,560. What do you think of the result?
I just had no idea. I mean, that's great. It's a super cool car. It's a manual car. It does all the things that you would want that type of car to do. It's ostentatious. It's, it has the presence that you're asking for a $300,000-ish Lamborghini. Like, it does all the things. So why not?
Shout out to Paul at Auto Kennel, who just joined us on the Instagram. Paul, go over to YouTube. We're live on YouTube right now. Join the chat with us, man, and play along with us, buddy.
Paul Kramer from Auto Kennel. What a great guy. We love him. We've had him on the show as a guest host.
He has been a third before, yeah.
He came on a handful of times in that first year that we were doing it. And mainly, we didn't mind bothering him because he was just sitting in his warehouse eating pizza by himself during COVID. Then he got busy and started selling cars again. So we've left him alone. But Paul, join us on the YouTube, and then we got to get you back on to guest host with us.
He can't hear you,
We need your nerdness on the show.
We do need Auto Kennel Paul's nerd. And same thing with Reese is on here too. Come over on YouTube. Anybody who's on Instagram right now, come join us on YouTube right now. Bid Nerds on YouTube. We're live. Make sure you click the live button. That's how you find the live episode if you don't have the notifications button already clicked, but you should click on the notification button so you know when we're live on YouTube. All right. Well, geez, what do you guys think of the results of this crazy Lamborghini? Was that well bought? Is that all the money? Is the end of the world nigh? Or is it just wintertime and this is the kind of car that's just not going to bring the top of the market? I think there's a lot of sky is falling going on right now, and I think that sure, there is a bit of a correction going on, but really, let's be honest here. This is still a lot higher than this car would have gone for in 2019. It's just wintertime. People are, I saw our good friend, Bradley Brownell, from formerly of Jalopnik, but DWA, one of the Radwood originators. He posted, he lives in Ohio now. Is that right, Deep? He lives in Ohio,
Cleveland,
right?
yeah,
Cleveland, yeah.
Cleveland. He's running the train, like aeronautical automobile museum in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, he's got a very prestigious position running that museum back there in Cleveland.
He's a trusted source. So, anyways, I see him on the Instagram machine putting his, Porsche in a, shipping container for the winter. It's like, yeah, everyone's putting their cool-ish away. So that means that like at least half of the country is not interested in a gated transmission Gallardo right now. So of course the prices are going to go down for the next couple of months. But the big question is, will they come back when the spring happens? So anyways, let us know what you think of the results of that car in the comments below, and let's move on to the next car that we made a prediction about.
All right, JP, pull up the 1987 Porsche 911 Turbo Coupe that was on Bring a Trailer. John, you might remember this. You and Lee Patet came out to a friend of ours' house in Las Vegas right when COVID hit, and I got a job with Stratus Auctions, and I did a collection of 14 cars for a friend of ours, and one of those cars in his collection that we went to sell on Stratus Auctions was this very 1987 Porsche 911 Turbo Coupe M505 slant nose with just 11,000 miles in spectacular condition. I want to say that when we went to sell it about 3 years ago, it only had like 9,000 miles on it. And it was just a really, really spectacular car. So of my short period of time at Stratus Auctions, there was basically one car that we sold above the estimate, knocked it out of the park, and we sold it in the natural auction. And it was this car. I sold this car a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, for $240,000. So this car comes back onto the auction on Bring a Trailer, showing now 11,000 miles out of Buffalo Grove, Illinois. It's a factory M505 car in Guards Red with tan seats. They're the sport bucket seats. This car was in spectacular condition, John. The carpets aren't stained. The Cosmoline and the doors, like the door cards aren't, like the armrests aren't bowing. Like, this is a car that's just been garaged and lovingly cared for its entire life. You could eat off the motor. Certificate of authenticity is included with the records and stuff. I mean, it was just an unbelievable car, and we had a relatively low reserve on it at Stratus, and like I said, it went way over. There were people fighting over this car, and now this guy, it seems, is bringing it to market. So here we go, JP. Without further ado, Porsche's probably better than anybody else in the studio. So you came in at $220,930, which is a damn good guess, considering the market's softer than it was a couple of years ago. Wade took the under at 195, and Mental split the difference between the two of you at $205,930. This car also got incredible action, JP. 47 bids to the hammer at $255,000 where it sold. This car brought 15 grand more than what he paid for it. I mean, again, if you go to the drinking game and talk about inflation and those sort of things, he probably technically still lost a little bit of money, but I'm sure he is thrilled with that result, that he paid top dollar and then a couple of years later turned around and sold it, and essentially, in my opinion, received top dollar. $250,000 for a slant nose that doesn't have a 5-speed manual. That is all the effing money. I think he did really, really well. And JP, of course, you won that one, being the high bidder. And honestly, I think your bid was really good. I think you're pretty close.
Well, it's crazy because, our friends at Godden Classic, and this isn't just a straight up plug, but Godden Classic brought a silver one, an 89 on black with the 5-speed, and they brought it to Cars und Cafe. And I'm scared to say it, but I think their asking price, I think, is 2.5. So I think their asking price is lower than the result of this one, and it's not even a 5-speed car. Theirs? I don't know off the top of my head. So, but I know that theirs is super clean, but it's probably more miles. Yeah. But for my money, I'd rather have the silver one with a few more miles and drive it. What do you think of the results of this, Sahan? I know you bid $209,930 in the comments last show.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful car. I would love to have a slant nose turbo or a slant nose of any kind. Probably for me, a beater slant nose that's not original would be better. But I'm glad to see a cool car get all the money, because that car is pretty awesome.
Lots of folks are hanging out in the chat. The Nerd Herd is growing every week. This is, or every episode, it seems like. You know, we do this twice a week, and every time we do it, it seems like there's more people. Welcome, Joseph. I think he's new to the Nerd Herd. Thanks for hanging out. He's saying hello. Of course, we've got Chris in there. We've got Anthony. We've got, oh, look, Buddha just chimed in here. We were wondering where Buddha was. He was sleeping late and just, I guess maybe the football game just got over or something. So welcome, Buddha, of course. Ross Churchhouse in New Zealand. We love seeing him. He's just waking up on the other side of the planet, I'm guessing. And who else is hanging out with us over here? I wish some of the folks that were on the Instagram would come on over here and chime in. Maybe they're watching, maybe they're lurking. We've got Hans hanging out. We've got Randy, of course. How you doing, Randy? The Idaho game is strong tonight. And it's
always.
Awesome. Yeah, as per usual.
Always.
And who's
we're terrible in LA. We're decent in Vegas. Not much in San Francisco, but man, talk about Idaho and Louisiana. We crush.
I think it's because the two original hosts resemble closely potatoes. And so there is that connection to the Northwest. So again, thanks to our Idaho crew. I am waiting to see a live viewing party from there. David, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. All right. That was pretty cool results. Randy is keeping track of the bids in the Nerd Herd there, and that's getting to be a more and more difficult job as time goes by. Let us know what you guys think of the results of that slant nose, and what other car did we make a prediction on the last episode there, Michael D?
All right, JP. I don't know who picked this car, but I thank them for doing so. We've had this massive debate recently in studio about the merits of the Miata as both a race car and a road car. It started in a furious comparison to a Toyota MR2 mid-engine convertible. But this is the Miata's stepsister. This is the Fiat 124 Spider with the Abarth package. Not a lot of horsepower, forced induction, but it's rear-wheel drive. It's Miata underpinnings. It's last generation's gearbox, according to Mental, so I'm picking up some knowledge. But you can get these cars with sport seats and sport exhaust, and you can get them with some Brembo brakes. And by and large, just even though they're forced induction, they're supposedly really fun cars to drive. I would like one because I'm a Fiat guy, diehard Fiat guy, but I have not yet tasted. I've not driven one of these things yet. So this is a nice little car that was on Cars and Bids, showing 19,200 miles. The car is in Bluffton, South Carolina. What else can I tell you about it? That's not much else. It's basically the same damn car as a Miata, but with the Fiat bodywork and some Fiat badges. Looks like they modified the wheels. Those mesh wheels are aftermarket wheels. But cool little car, and the little homage to the fiberglass hoods on the racing Abarth. Fiat can do this thing where they do like matte black film across the front and rear deck lids. But that was supposed to look like the black fiberglass hoods that they used for the race cars. So cool little car, JP. I really wanted to know what this thing was brand new, but it doesn't show it. I think Cars and Bids. Is our guy watching?
Who cares? It's $189. This car's worth nothing. It's a piece of junk. Yeah, how much did it go for? Golly, you're like what? I thought we don't have Mental in the room tonight. I thought for at least we'd have someone not all over the stupid Miata thing.
I love this car. Beautiful. Look at it. $40,000. So, anyways, let's see the bids real quick. $24,000 by JP, $23,000 by Wade, and $24,124 by Mental. I think this car was like $40,000 when it was brand new. It's got like 19,000 miles on it, and it's sold for $19,500, 50% value on the dollar. This car got crushed in the secondary market. That was the point I was trying to make. There you go, JP.
Chris Bonelli or Benil hanging out, a new nerd in the Nerd Herd, gets it right. A-barf right there. That is the correct thing. Look, I brought up I brought this car on here because I knew Mental would just all over the screen on this stupid thing. And the thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that, look, why would anyone pay this much money when they could clearly get a S2000 or un-S2000. Is it AS2000 or un-S2000? As a daily driver, Wade was like, infotainment. It's like, get a stereo with Bluetooth. What are you talking about? And he's the millennial. I guess he's Tech Daily guy or whatever. But Sahan, what do you think? This is just stupid.
This car is unacceptable.
Right. Thank you.
Absolutely unacceptable. I have driven many small vehicles, and this car does not fit into the category of vehicles that I would pay money for, and or drive, even if it was a rental. I would prefer to walk and or take a bus. This car is not it. This is definitely not.
Well,
it.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, like, just look. It's like you get into. I don't actually hate this car. I mean, I don't hate Miatas even. I mean, they serve a purpose, right? They're a cheap way to get into an enthusiast car. But as soon as you start getting over 20 grand and you're in that $20,000 to $30,000 range, and you're looking for, and you're going to accept a Japanese enthusiast car, why would you get the one that feels like every piece in the interior feels like a recycled McDonald's lid? I mean, it's like all just the cheapest damn materials you can possibly imagine. Everything you touch just feels like crap. Whereas an S2000, even one from the year 2000, I mean, a 20-something-year-old car still feels like a significant car, don't you? Deeb, I brought it up specifically for you because you are an S2000 fanboy. Would you rather drive this or an S2000?
S2000, and it wouldn't matter which one, AP1, AP2. I would take either one over this or a Miata. The new Miata has 30 horsepower more, and it's still only 180 horsepower. An S2000 makes 240 rear-wheel drive. They're really fun to get on. Plus, VTEC kicks in, so it just feels like you have to wring its neck to get the horsepower out of it, and that's really fun to do because it's Japanese that want you to wring its neck, and it's just they're a blast. They're way more fun than this little multi-air forced induction motor.
What do you guys think of the results of this Fiat Abarth on Cars and Bids? Congrats for them for getting someone to actually buy the stupid thing. Let us know in the comments below. And I think it's time for a quick commercial, and we will be right back with brand new predictions. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds. Get those nerds! All right, look what time it is. It's time for Hour Smiths, our new sponsor. Check your watch. If it needs service, check it and send it to Hour Smiths up in Idaho. Member of the Nerd Herd, Anthony Vieira. He's watching right now. He will send you a package, and you put your watch in the package, and then you send it back to him, and then he sends it back to you. It's like brand new. You got to do it. Hour Smiths. We have a commercial that we're going to be putting up on the next episode. That's super awesome that they put together for us. So we'll make sure that that's in the mix. But Hour Smiths, fine Swiss repair for your fine Swiss watch. All right, let's get to some new predictions since we botched those last ones up. Ross says that we're getting pretty brave when Mental's away. What are you talking about, Ross? What like we're like hiding from Mental? Give me a break. Love me some VTEC, of course. Anthony's saying just buy a Boxer S and move on with life. But the Boxer is the better car, but it may blow up. and then you have a boat anchor, whereas at least even the Abarth is less likely to explode into so many parts that you could never put Humpty Bumpty back together. Yeah. Okay. Right. All right. Hans is saying well done to Anthony. All right. What do we got on the list tonight, Michael Deeb? I'm excited about some new cars. Let's make some poor predictions. Let's do it.
All right, at the top of the list is a car on Cars and Bids, John. That's the 2005 BMW M3 Coupe. This is a E46 M3 with 52,500 miles out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. This car, JP, is no frills. It's not like a high-spec car. It's just triple black, manual, rear-wheel drive, basic bitch 18-inch wheels, and not much more to it. However, over the last few years, E46s have been really strong in the secondary market. And I like this car because I think this car has broad appeal and still offers a fantastic analog driving experience. Beautiful seats, Harman Kardon sound system, no sunroof. This is just a really, really neat car. I like this car. And honestly, I think I could see you driving a car like this for about 16 days tops before you sold it. So really nice car, JP. No nonsense, no frills. Manual, inline six. I like this thing. I think these are fantastic and still a really good value. Now, if this car had 15,000 miles, it could be scary expensive, like $60,000 or something. But with 52,000 miles, this is going to be it's one of those cars, JP, that pushes you into that predicament where it's like, you've got 40 grand burning a hole in your pocket, and you think, could I pick up a Porsche for less than that? Yeah, you could get a Boxster Cayman or 911, but the cars that you can afford under that 40 grand are all cars that suffer from the IMS dilemma. So if you don't want to gamble the money, you don't want to break the budget, what could you turn to? And I feel like a car like this would be a good turn car away from a scary, affordable Porsche to something that would be maybe not quite the equal as far as fun to drive, but really, really way up there on the fun scale. So, JP, I present to you the alternate, an E46 M3 with a manual. What do you think?
Love it. These cars are fantastic. They're really one of the best enthusiast cars of all time. I'll go ahead and say that. Is it... of course there are exotics and all kinds of cars that are better, but for the money, I don't know if you can get a better bang for the buck. And like, you're absolutely right. You start comparing this to a water pumper Porsche, especially the earlier ones of this era, the 996s and stuff, you're just avoiding all the headaches that you wind up getting with those early water pumping Porsches. And I love those early water pumping Porsches. But there is no IMS bearing in this car that's going to make the engine explode. There are problems with the rod bearings or whatever, but those generally aren't going to destroy the engine. And even if it does fail, a rebuild on one of these you're not going to have to remortgage the house to rebuild the engine on something like this. This era of BMW, a lot of plastic parts in the powertrain, those are problems. But I know, Sahan, you've got a lot of experience with BMWs, M3s. What do you think of this car?
E46s were like the coolest car when I had my E36. Like, I was always chasing down an E46. I almost bought an Alpine White on a Mola E46. That one got away. That was a spec that I was really into. This is a great car. I almost wish it had more miles, because at this mileage, the price that it's going to get puts it above E92 M3 prices. And I think it's just a tough spot to be in, because the E92 M3 gives a higher level of performance, more modern performance. Although one could argue that the styling on this is more classic and more beautiful than the E92. But the E92, from a performance side, is a better car. And if what you're saying, $35,000, $40,000, you can get a really nice example of an E92 M3. So you would have to really want an E46 M3 specifically if you're in that dollar point looking for a BMW M3. So there's definitely somebody looking for this car, but for the money, I might buy an E92.
Man, I don't know, buddy. I'm over. The E46 is... The numbers on an E92, I know they're faster. I get it. They've got the bigger motor, they got more power and everything like that. But something about the size, the weight, the nimbleness of the E46, this engine, just the way this car comes together on those back roads makes an E92 BMW feel kind of big and bloated, which is the way of BMW. They've gone away from those small little cars that were giant killers, and they've become the giant themselves. I think when When people talk about horsepower, like you talk to a new car enthusiast, or a lot of times when young people come up, oh, why do you like Porsches? You know, especially the old ones. They only have, this car has 300 horsepower. My Hellcat has 700 horsepower. Why would you want? And I'm like, look, all horsepower is not created equal, right? An E92, how much horsepower does an E92 M3 have?
More than 140 horsepower over because it's 400 and something, 460, 415.
Right. It's like well into the 400s, right? It's easily 100 horsepower more than a contemporary 997. So if you got a 2007 E92 and a 2007 base 911, the base 911 has like 330 horsepower or something like that. Identical track times all around. So you've got 100 plus more horsepower in the BMW, yet the little 911 with the smaller engine does the same thing. It used to be the other way around. BMW was trying to chase the 911 with a smaller motor. The E30 M3 didn't really have that much power at all. You had to talk about winding its neck like we were talking about the S2000. Deeb, which one would you rather have, an E92 or an E46?
You know, it's really funny. You brought a great point, JP. What the car that put BMW on the map in the United States was the 2002, which was a giant killer, in your words. And this car is kind of the last of that. And yeah, while there's greater specification in the E92, that car is a pig compared to the E46. I actually think I'd want the E46. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure I would love an E92 M3. I wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating cookies. But if the money wasn't the issue, I'd probably pick the E46 M3. And like you, Sahan, this was a car that when this was a new car in 2005, I was not a man of any means. I could not afford one of these cars. I couldn't go down to the BMW dealership and take one for a test drive. Sahan, she was out of my league. You know what I mean? But now when I look back and you see them at like 40 grand and you're like, how is this car so affordable? I remember when this car came out, I thought it was a god. I just thought it was a fantastic evolution over the E36. Still had that classic 3-box design, and still rocked an S54 motor. I was like, damn, that thing is amazing. So I really wanted one. And I've never owned one, which is probably why I pick these cars so often, JP. I still have a crush on them. So yeah, I would take this car. I would.
To be clear, I'm just saying I would rather it had 100,000 miles so I could get it for 25.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, the S54 engine compared to that V8 that's in the E92, I mean, the S54, as long as you deal with it, was it the Vanos and a couple little things, you're going to have an engine that's going to easily live to 200,000 miles with the proper maintenance.
The E92s were the same.
But
super reliable.
Do they get? I've never seen one with 200,000 miles. I mean, I've seen tons of, but I haven't paid attention.
No, they're around because so many people have bought them. Like they got under 30 for a little while, and so many people got into them and just have been like really putting them to work. And so we've kind of seen what they're capable
putting them
of.
To work.
Putting them to work. But yeah,
put them to work.
I just think that the 50,000 mile E46 this old isn't giving me personally the value. I'd rather have one with 100,000 miles that's had all the cooling system done and all of that for much cheaper. That's really
well. This one does have low miles and kind of like, I mean, look, like you guys say, these E46s, they were all beat up, put to work, as Sahan says. It's kind of like a stripper that gets new tits, right? Price goes up. This one has low miles, and E46s are making a comeback. How much is it going to bring?
So, JP, here's the interesting thing. So our car closes tomorrow out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, and it's on Cars and Bids. The thing that's troubling me about predicting what I think this car is going to bring is that I keep tripping over what I think it's worth. And those are typically two different numbers. And sometimes it's especially true on Cars and Bids. Our car, John, closes in a day and it's sitting at just $29,750 on 9 bids. Oftentimes we see that as Cars and Bids comes into the final day of Hammer, they don't get a big flurry at the end. And will pound the table saying that I think that's because they have such a short repeating clock at the end of the hammer. I think if they would extend that time, they'd get more action at the end. I don't know that they necessarily need that. If they're making money, why break what's not broke? Why fix what's not broken? But our car is only at 29, and I think this is, John, looking at it, I think this is a $45,000 example. And again, it doesn't have the 19s. It doesn't have a fancy color like Laguna Seca or Phoenix Yellow or whatever those other great colors were. It certainly doesn't have the competition package. But I'm really digging the basic ones on the 18s. I think it's a better looking car, and this is honestly how I would take mine. So while I think it's a $45,000 car, the fact that it's on Cars and Bids at under 30 with a day left, I don't think it's going to come near my number. And so I'm kind of choking on the idea that I think this car the Hammer should start with a 4. And it doesn't, to me, reading the tea leaves, it doesn't look like it's going to get there. I'm going to have faith in the platform, John, and go $41,000. But as I walk out onto the plank to present my bid to the herd, I don't feel confident in that number. And I wish I did. I wish I could say, oh yeah, 30 grand, it's totally going to get another $10,000. It's going to get 30% more money in the final day. But that doesn't happen on Cars and Bids. But I don't see how an example this nice goes for less than 40, even on, I mean, I think actually on Cars and Bids, it's a great platform for this car. So John, I sent it to you at 41, but it's got a long way to go to get to my number. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to come under for all the reasons that you talked about. Black on black with the MacBook Pro aluminum trim is the way to go for a car like this. I would way rather have it this color than a Laguna Seca blue or something crazy. This car, you can go nuts and be under the radar. So this car actually is way more valuable to me than one of those bright colored ones. But I think Cars and Bids, I just don't know if Doug can get it done. I'm going to say 35,046.
Whoa!
I wasn't done. 36,000. I'm sorry, $35,046.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is.
Harsh.
I just
Doug
don't
might
think,
be watching.
I mean,
Doug,
Doug, maybe if you get me on one of your shows so we can plug Bid Nerds and do a little collab, then maybe I'll bid higher on your cars on Cars and Bids, and maybe we can help each other out. We have like 14 people that watch this show, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. What are you doing?
Sahan, before you speak, Sahan, even though JP was the creator, producer, and host of the show, he doesn't speak for both of us, Doug. I think that's a harsh bid. I think it's going to get to 40 grand. So let's go.
Steve just wants a job.
I mean, seriously, speak through the thick resentment in the air. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah. Are you there, Tokyo? Come in, Tokyo.
Exactly. I'll come in the middle. We'll do 37,046.
Oh my God, Sahan, are you becoming a diplomat right before my eyes? What the fuck was that?
Oh, dropping the F-bomb. There it is. All right.
There goes my job application.
Yeah, all right. Doug was like typing up an email. He's like, I don't think that was prudent.
Yeah. Does Zach have his number?
Yeah. All right. Does Frank still work over there? I mean, come on. We know all these people at Cars and Bids. What the hell, Cars and Bids? Zach's not hanging out tonight with us. I'm kind of bummed.
Yeah. Frank wants to come on the show. It's on me that I haven't set that up. So Frank Harrington, we will get you on the show. Frank Harrington has his own podcast, not another useless automobile podcast or something like that. And then Frank's got a job with Cars and Bids. So really good guy. We'll get him on the show. We're coming for you, Frank.
All right.
Next car, JP.
Let's move on to the next prediction. Real quick, looks like the Nerd Herd's coming in. They're pretty much with us. 38 from Kevin. Who else is coming here? We got Chris Carbine's 36.9. Hans is at 36. Hans, no, Hans, you started at 35 and then you went to 36. What's that about, dude? You can't change it once it's typed. It's in. It's Price is Right rules, bro. David Van is like me. He's at 35 without the $46. Michael
Anybody in the
Buddha's
40s?
at here 31.5. Yeah, no one thinks it's getting
Buddha.
up breaking a 40.
Oh
Ross is at 30. Anthony's at 32.5. So
do people remember that this car is strong? E46s are strong. JP, here's the thing. At all
They're
those
great in the
numbers,
snow.
it feels like $36,000. $36,000. That seems like a hell of a value. I mean,
It does. Yeah.
It
I
really
mean,
is unbelievable.
they say buy the dip, right? I mean, if I think it's a buyer's market for sure. And this is definitely a car that will come back. And look, this is a car you want to be stuck with. If you are going to be stuck with an enthusiast car, you could drive this to the end of freaking time and put 100,000 miles on it, and it'll still be a great car. Whereas, you get something like an A-Barf. And that thing gets more than 50,000 miles on it, and you got a planter. All right, let's move on to the next car. What else we got?
All right, JP, I've really been stuck on 991.1s, and I can't get off of them. So on PCAR Market is a 2012 911 Carrera, base Carrera, 7-speed manual, no sunroof car. So this is just a real pure coupe with a manual transmission. By the time they get to the 991, Porsche started offering an abbreviated number of options for the base Carrera that were available on the Carrera S's and the GTS's. So in other words, there were more options on the higher spec cars. But that doesn't make them any less fun to drive. So this car's got a 7-speed manual, normally aspirated motor, 20-inch wheels, and it's a fixed roof coupe with no sunroof. It's just really funny that somebody came in the comments to rip them for labeling it a sunroof delete in the heading on PCAR Market. And the seller comes on and says, look, I understand what you're saying, but when you look at the air-cooled cars, the sunroof delete cars are starting to bring more money than the cars with the sunroof, which wasn't always the case. Like if you look at a 356, it's got a sunroof, it's worth more money. But if you go to an early G body and if it's a sunroof delete car, it'll bring a premium. And so some of these more modern cars that weren't equipped with sunroofs, they list that as if it's an attractive thing. I would prefer mine without a sunroof because I would never open the sunroof. I would take a Targa or a cab, but if you're going to give me a coupe, skip the sunroof. So I like this, but I love that it's a debate here. So JP, our car is sitting in, where is it? Valparaiso, Indiana. It's got some miles on it at 43,066 miles. Clean Carfax. No nonsense, platinum silver, just good-looking silver black base coupe. I feel like a car like this just could be like a rip of a deal, especially on PCAR Market. So JP, our car closes in about 3 days from now. So before we do the next show, I send it over to you. Look, it's not a car you would keep for like a year, but I could see you rocking a car like this, put some stickers on it, having some fun, driving it to California or to Seattle to see your buddies. This would be a fun car to rip around in for the better part of a calendar year and then turn around and, flip it and see if you can make a buck on it. Here's a nice base 991. What do you think? It's a big car, but still fun to drive, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about these. One thing that we just found out the other day that the Porsche 99 or the Porsche 911 is like in the last 5 years has held its value better than any other car. Other car, the Toyotas or anything. 911s, modern 911s have really done well. This is the first year of the 991. So to the average person seeing this drive down the road, they are not going to know that this is not a 992, a brand spanking new one. This car, to the Porsche file, you can tell the difference. But even to us, you got to kind of like, what? 991? Okay. No, this is a 991. Okay, got it. It's a .1. Okay. There's just these cars really do look great. But the 991.1 base cars are really underpowered. The previous generation, obviously 997, you had in the base car, you had a 3.6, and in the S version, you had a 3.8. In the 991s, they went from, they put a 3.4 liter in a bigger car. And that really makes a big difference. And, driving one of these is a lot like driving an SC. I swear to God, you got to wind the heck out of it. There's no power. There's no low end power. And it's just, the engine isn't big enough for this car. It's just not, it's not big enough for a 997 or honestly a 997 because the 996s had 3.4s and 3.6s or 3.4s, the first generation ones. Go ahead.
Let me lob you one, JP, that you could debate. This car makes 345 horsepower which is the same specification as a 996 40th anniversary car. That basically a 996 with an X51 package made the same horsepower. Never mind the 2 generations of the 997 that come in between this. This car makes the same horsepower as a 996. Isn't that crazy?
And has a lot more weight and just a much bigger presence. The thing that this particular car has going for it, and I've never owned a base 991, but I did. Our friends at Godden had a base 991 that I was very much considering. It had a manual, but that car didn't even have a sport button. And without that map, without that throttle response, that car really, like, I'm not kidding, it felt like driving an SC. I mean, it felt better as far as ride and everything like that, but holy cow, it did not have enough power. This car with the Sport and the Sport Plus is definitely going to feel snappier. It's going to have a better lower end. And that's important on the base model. If you get a base model, it has to at least have Sport. Sport Plus with Chrono is really going to make a huge difference. I would like to drive this car, but it's not. So I think the 3.4s. The other thing to think about too, and Son, I'll let you hop in on this one, is this is the very first year of the 991, and these are prone to all kinds of electronic little gremlins. They did not have their ish together on the first year, and even the 2013s have a lot of those problems. The 997 was still on the showroom floor at the same time as this car. You could still get a 997 in a model year 2012. So, they still had GTSs and turbos in the 997. So, but this, I don't know. Sahan, what do you think of these?
I mean, this car just seems kind of boring to me. I would rather have a 997 C2S than this car. I don't know what this car is worth, in comparison to a 997 C2S. But some doctor bought this as a daily driver or something like that, or some accountant, some lame-o that was like, oh, I'm gonna buy a Porsche with a manual. And it's cool.
At least they got one with 3 pedals. I mean, I don't agree with you, Son. I think usually that guy you're describing gets a PDK because all of those guys. Yeah. This was in the era where if you went to the Porsche store and said, "Hey, I want to drive one of those 991s that just came out," and they're like, "Oh yeah," and you're like, "Where's the 3 pedal one?" And they're like, "No, the PDK is just as good. You're gonna love it." Everybody swears by it. I swear to God. Oh my God, you're gonna love it. Trust me. Oh my God, please just believe me. You're gonna like the PDK, please God. I mean, it was like they were just begging for people to try them and drive them. There's like, dude, take your CrossFit stuff, get out of here. Relax, dude.
The salespeople would always go, the PDK is 0.2 seconds faster to 0 to 60. I'm like, cool. Can I still drive a manual? That was the knee-jerk reaction, was to start quoting 0 to 60 times and talk about the merits of the PDK. Oh, it's better. But
this was the first car I ever drove with the automatic, the blip shift thing. In a manual, it doesn't make any sense. Your brain just goes, blah, blah, blah. But that PDK, or that manual actually is a PDK. It's just it's a dummy switch, that third pedal. That's a whole other thing to talk about. But the big question is, what do we think this thing's going to bring? We're going in a winter. This is a really nice, clean car with a lot going for it, but it is on kind of an ishy platform with, questionable. Let's just say that. What's it going to bring, Michael Deep?
Is she spider climbed up the wall? Okay, here we go. So I have a baby. I gotta sing that song all the time. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Our car closes essentially in 3 days from now. Like, basically, when we do the show later in the week, that evening, this car will have closed earlier that day. So at the moment, our car is sitting on just $10,000 on 2 bids and 25 comments. But this car should bring a little bit of money. Here's what I think, JP. I think this car is going to hammer for around $55,000, where I still think it will fail to sell and wind up in the deal tank for like 65, 70 grand, which is not what it's worth. I think if it comes to 55, he should sell it. But I just feel like anybody that goes to P-Car Market has an inflated value for their car. And this, I'm pretty sure, John, is it's just a standard car. It's not a dealer car. So I think it's going to go to 55, but I also think it'll fail to sell at that number. And it could struggle to get there. This is a dealer
car, by the way. This is a dealer car.
Oh, it is a dealer car? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Thank you for catching that. I didn't see it. But anyway, yada, yada, yada. So that's what I think. I'm going to give you $55,000. But I think it'll fail at that number. I think they're looking for over 60 for this car, and I don't think they're going to get it.
If I own this car, there's no way in hell I would take less than 60. This is a manual 911 with Sport and Sport Plus. I know it's not an S. I know it's not a lot of things that we'd rather it be. But one thing is true, that 991s with 3 pedals are really hard to find. If this were a PDK with 53,000 miles, it would still be bringing in the 50-something range. I'm going to go way over you. I'm going to say 65. But I am going to agree with you that it may not sell at that because it is a dealer car, and I think that the dealer probably had to pay something for this thing, and they're probably thinking it's worth a lot more than it actually is. But I do think it'll get up to 65, but I don't know if it'll sell at that. What do you think, Sahan?
I think that there's a lot of dealers right now that are really deep into a bunch of cars that they can't sell for what they're into them. So I think that's a common problem that they're going to be running into. And the smart dealers are going to be cutting their losses, right? So the smart dealers are going to take what the...
Or consigning their cars. I think the smart dealers are going to stop buying cars and just consign them. Say, look, I can sell it for you online. Yeah.
For sure. But there are dealers sitting on inventory right now, and they're looking to get as much as they can out of it, like you guys are saying. I'd have no idea what these cars are worth. I wouldn't buy it for $50,000. but there are so many other cars at $50,000 that would be more entertaining to me personally, including many other Porsches. But yeah, I mean, maybe it goes up to 60 and fails to sell because, again, they probably have a bunch of money wrapped up in this car because they thought it was going to be an easy sell, and it's the winter, and also the market, even if it's not crashing, has slowed. And so, this might not be the greatest time to sell this car.
Well, I mean, I think in general, it's not a great time to sell a car, but this is not normal distressed inventory. We're not talking about a Mercedes dealership that has 50 EVs. We're not talking about a Stellantis dealer that has a bunch of Rams or Jeep Grand Cherokees for $120,000 that no one wanted in the first place. Right? We started off this conversation. The 911, the modern 911, has the highest resale value out of any other car. I don't know if I remember ever hearing Porsche ever even being on that list of top 10, much less the number 1. And this car only has 50,000 miles. This car is in excellent condition. And if we even go back to, say, 2019 prices, 991.1 911s were in that $60,000 to $70,000 range. And yes, they were newer cars at the time, but if I'm the dealer, I'm not get rid of the trucks, get rid of the SUVs, if somebody's giving you $189 for an EV, take it, get it the hell off your lot and stop paying the interest that you're paying for your floor plan. But a 911 is the one car that not only will you probably be able to sell and get some decent money for it, but also it's a car, unlike the classic 911s, they're very difficult to finance. This car, someone will still be able to get financed. It is still a relatively modern car. You're going to still pay a really high interest rate, but you will get approved on the car that holds the highest resale value, unlike that Dodge Charger or whatever Camaro thing that they're trying to unload on you. All right, what do we got the nerds saying here? We've got where are we at? Chris thinks it's going to be 56.9. I think everyone's agreeing with you guys. 57.991 failed to sell is what Ross says. Man, Kevin thinks 42 all day, unless he's talking about the last car. Holy cow, it's higher than that. He must have been talking about the last car. 61,000. That's where Hans is at. Any other bids out here? All right. Hopefully you guys are keeping track of all those bids, but let's move on to the next car. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sahan, what was your bid again, please? Will you give it to me?
60,000.
60,000. So you think it's going to get there, huh?
I mean, cool. I don't know that it's going to sell at 60,000, but yeah.
Yeah, Anthony is asking about that Lancia replica, and that's a good question, Anthony. That car didn't close yet. when we put it on the list, it actually closes tomorrow. So we will talk about that on the next episode, and we'll talk about what happened with that car. I know that our good friend Radu wanted to buy that thing, and I think it went way over what he thought it would, and I don't think that's going to happen unless we see it at Cars and Cafe at the end of the month, which would be pretty darn cool. All right, what else we got, Michael Deep?
All right, JP, our good friend and friend of the show, Chef from Red Rock and creator of Vegas Auto Fest, called us up again, JP. You might have noticed we were in the chats, and he wanted to remind us that god dang 1969 Porsche 911T Coupe RSR replica with the 3.8 is for sale again. Oh, yeah, deja vu. This car is like a relative.
Oh, sorry. I was just whistling round and round. Sorry.
Yeah. This car is like a relative, JP. It never really goes away. And so anyways, if you remember, John, our car was on Bring a Trailer in September where it sold for $140,000 on no reserve. Somebody who was the winning bidder failed to pay for the car. So a couple weeks later, our car showed up on P-Car Market where it failed to sell at $122,000 on 36 bids. So the guy who owns this car still owns this car. And so now it has been on BaT for a week, and it closes tomorrow through the seller, Wobe, at 1,000 Oaks, California. But I don't think they own the car. I think they're it's on consignment with them. So showing 7,000 miles, modified with a 3.8-liter M64, which is the 964 motor. 5-speed manual transmission, limited slip differential, welded on RSR flares. The only thing I don't like about the car, JP, that I've talked about are these forged 17-inch Fisk wheels. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the wheels are beautiful. I just don't like them on a long-herd conversion. Or I shouldn't say conversion, but like on an RSR build, the wheels to me are too modern. Look, if your intention is to track the cars, you got more contact patch, less reciprocating weight. I get all of the reasons why he chose these, but the car is so beautifully executed as an RSR. I just think it would look fantastic with a set of real 15-inch wheels. You'd have to downgrade the brakes to fit under those smaller wheels, and then go with a thicker side wheel tire. But that is purely subjective. That's my only gripe with this thing. So it would be complicated to take them off because the brakes that are underneath, I'm sure, wouldn't fit on the smaller Fuchs wheels. But otherwise, this, by all accounts, this is a car that even Sahan would love to drive because this car ain't slow. So really nice car, JP. is third time the charm. Now, it's worth noting, this is really fascinating, JP. I'm going to see if you nerd out on this as much as I do. When they ran the car the first time, they ran it at no reserve. And it was an alumni then. The car was an alumnus then. It had been on Bring a Trailer in 2016. But then when they ran the car on P-Car Market, he protected it with a reserve because P-Car Market would do anything for anybody. So now as it comes back to BaT, I'm not sure that he would want to run it at no reserve, but I would bet everything that Bring a Trailer said, if you're bringing that car back to us, and it had also moonlighted with P-Car Market, the only way we're going to run it for you is no reserve. In other words, this car has got to get out of our hair. So JP, I'm going to send it to you, but I'm going to tease ahead because I think it's relevant. Our car closes in 15 hours, and it's sitting at just $60,000 on no reserve. If you're the consignor or if you're even the owner of this car, how tight are your butt cheeks clenched right now, tonight, going to bed, waiting for this thing to finally be done and out of your hair, but wondering if you're going to lose your shirt while you do it? I send that to you, JP. That's what's happening right now for this car.
I don't know if he's paying any attention at all to results of cars on BaT. There was a really cool orange backdate. I want to say it was an SE backdate with a 3.3 build or something like that. It wasn't as cool as this one. It may have been maybe a little cleaner, but it wasn't like badass like this. It was just a normal narrow body. It was a lot like my car, my 86 backdate, and that thing brought. Before I give you the number, that car brought with a salvage title, with having a wreck, that car brought $90,000. So this car is way, way nicer than that one. This car is way, way cooler than that one. It's a wide body, bigger motor, all the things. I think this guy is going to be just fine. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be just fine, but I don't think it's not going to just fail. It's not going to fail to get over that $100,000. I don't think he's totally screwed. He's got a ways to go, and people are still paying money for these types of cars. There's also another 80 backdate or an 83 backdate with a 3.6 in it that just listed the other day, and it's already got a ton of traffic. This car. Is it a good investment for the guy? Obviously not, but I don't think he's going to lose his absolute butt. What do you think, Sahan?
I'm just kind of upset that this car has been sold so many times because it clearly wants to be driven hard, and I would happily do that for them if they'd like. I just
it's not sexual.
I'm just confused as to why it seems like it was bought and then were they trying to flip it, and if they were trying to flip it and they lose their shirt on it, I don't really care. So there's that. But I would love to have this car. And I hope that it sells for less than $100,000 so that I can buy one for less than $100,000.
All right. Well, what's it going to bring, guys?
So JP, I mean, look, third time's going to be the charm. This car is going to sell. It's no reserve, and it closes in just 15 hours. But it's only sitting at 60 grand. I think that number will double. But this time, he said no to $122,000 on PCAR Market. I kind of think he should have taken the money because this time around, I think he's going to get to 120 grand and he's going to have to sell it. It's going to cost him, it's not going to cost him anything as a lister. Actually, it probably cost him a significant percentage to work with WAB, although, there's a lot to unpack here. We'll have to wait for the result. But JP, I send it to you at $120,000 and it will sell at that number. It's no reserve. So where are you at? What do you think is going to happen?
I'll give it 129,911. I think this car is going to get up there.
You're the optimist.
I believe in the backdates and the long hoods and the builds like this. They're still bringing money. I happily, because like I said, I own one. I honestly don't know why they're still holding, because they don't fit the model, right? Everything that's holding really well seems to be cars that are like the perfect blue chip car. And then there's this weird anomaly that built long hood 911s are still bringing dough. Hey, great, cool, super. I have one in the garage. So what do you think, Sahan?
I mean, I think that this car is probably way more fun to drive than some blue chip car.
Good
honestly.
point. Yeah.
This car looks like it had a ton of love and effort put into it, and I bet it shows when you get behind the wheel. So, I think what people are buying with this car is they're buying the value of the driving experience rather than the investment into the future value of the car. And somebody's just paying to have fun, right? If it's 120 grand to drive this car around, that's probably a lot of fun for under 20 grand, that car does all the things.
So what's your number, Sahan?
Calm down, dude.
Oh, no. I want to know what your number was.
This is Bit Nerd. You're supposed to guess a number, Sahan. What do you mean? You can't be telling Deeb to calm the hell down. This is the whole goddamn point of the show. He's come up with a stupid bit. What do you mean? Calm down.
He's like, I'm not done yet. He's like, I'm not Wade. Don't.
No one in the history of The Price is Right ever said to the dude that's telling you to spay and neuter your dogs, calm down there, buddy. Bob Barker, just cool your jets, Turbo. I'll get to my bid when I get to my bid. All right? Go clip the nuts of a dog and come back to me in an hour, and I'll tell you what I think. Give us a goddamn number, for crying out loud. I'm yelling.
I think this number, I think this is going to come in, sub 120. I'm going to go 118, 911.
Okay. All right. Well, look.
All right. So.
Oh, go ahead. All right.
JP, I want to ask you. Your number is optimistic at $130,000, and what I want to come back to is in the last 2 months, this car has kind of failed to move twice, and he's coming back to market so soon after that catastrophe that he had to endure with those two platforms, or with those two runs before. Do you not account to some degree that this car is burnt? You know what I mean? Like Chef has sent this car to us 3 times in 12 weeks. I mean, it's wild.
Shoddy tried to sell his car, his beautiful backdate RSR project, and it failed to sell at $90-something thousand. He brought it back less than 3 months later on the same damn platform from the same damn seller, the same batch of photos. And what did it bring? 170. So sometimes cars just have a bad day. This car has all the eyeball. This car is gorgeous. And look, you can make an argument, like all these idiots on the Instawebs and on YouTube, all of our competitors, right? They have thumbnails of their stupid face. And their faces are stupider than this one. That's saying a lot, right? Thumbnail of their face with the flames in the background and a chart with the arrow going down, right? The sky is falling. The mark is... They're just freaking the F out. It's like, calm the fuck down, just like Sahan said, right? One thing that isn't going down is the cost to build something like this. Go get your 911 and tell me you want to take your old 911 and make it into that. Good luck. Yeah. It's 3 times more than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. You want this car? You can't go to the Porsche store and get one. They don't have rows and rows and rows of them anywhere. You got to find them on a platform like this, or you got to build it and wait 2, 3, 5 years. And it's going to cost you through the nose. This car you could buy, drive tomorrow, literally. Yeah. I wish I had the money in the bank.
What's the wait list at Rod Emery? What's the wait list at Singer? What's the wait list at that one that Rami almost bought, that 964 guy? What's the name of him?
The Gunther Works.
Gunther Works. I mean, they've all got 2 and 3 and 4 year waiting lists to go give them more than $500,000 to build something, that would technically be superior to this. But man, the value in a built 3.8 that's smog exempt, I'm telling you, that car, whatever it does, is putting down at least 350 horsepower to the tires with that motor. Yeah. That's gonna be a effing fun car.
Yeah, all right, John, talk to Flying Hawaiian and say you want a car like that. It's gonna be $350,000. All right, last car. What do we got? I know you picked this one for me. Yeah,
just for you. Yeah. So what we're looking at on Bring a Trailer is a 1988 Volkswagen Scirocco, but this is a European market car. It does have the 16-valve motor. But this car's nickname is the Scala, which is some sort of, I think, special edition. But I don't know what it is. I'm not, as much as I love Volkswagens, I don't know them that well. But there is a dealership in Jacksonville, Florida, that is bringing in gray market cars from Europe. JP, their website is littered with useless Fiats and Alphas that I love. And so I actually know this dealer really well. He had a Fiat 124 Sport Coupe, just like my dad's car, that I really wanted to buy for no reason. I own one. I don't need another one. I don't even need a parts car. My car works, But he brought in this car, which is very modern for the type of car that he typically brings in. But I can assure you that this car is on a Florida title and is ready to be enjoyed. The car is showing just 72,000 kilometers, which is, wait for it, JP, under 45,000 miles, and true to the Volkswagen and Audi and Porsche, company. Our car shows a ZZZ VIN, which I knew you'd get a kick out of, JP. But there you have it, a 1.8 liter 16 valve. John, are those 14-inch wheels nicknamed the Snowflakes? Are those called Snowflakes?
Those are the Snowflakes. Good call.
Yeah.
Look at you.
And the pattern, that like almost studio check pattern that's on the center of the seats. My cousin had a Volkswagen Cabriolet. She had a Volkswagen Rabbit convertible that was triple white, and she had that same pattern on her white seats in her, I believe, 88 Rabbit convertible, if I've got the year correct. So I read those seats to me are a deja vu from my college days. So I look at this and it really brings me back. And then JP, look at the photo of the interior, the dashboard. Although the glove box looks like it's just off a tiny bit, but like the door cards and the steering wheel and the seats, this doesn't look like an American car that's been beat to hell or driven by somebody that had literally no money. This car looks like it's been pretty well taken care of. I believe it is a German market example, John. So German market car, 72,000 kilometers, 16 valve motor. a Scirocco, you just don't like. You're so hard to find clean in the United States, and this guy brought one in from Germany, and it looks to be, pretty close to exceptional. Well, there you have it, JP. What a nice little car, man. I mean, that thing's so cool and so 80s and so Volkswagen. I don't know. I can hear the starter motor. I can picture. I can hear it in my ear. The rattle from this motor. Yeah, totally. So I love it. I think that thing is pretty effing rad. I know you'd much rather have a black one, but tell me you wouldn't love to drive to Radwood in Southern California in this triple white example. This thing looks bitchin'. So anyway, there you go, JP.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I would definitely rather have the white one because the white ones were really rare in America. They were all red or black or Zermatt silver. White ones were like super, super hard to find. The snow. So when I saw the picture of this car, I was like, oh, they swapped the wheels. Why would they put, the snowflakes? Those are the GTI wheels. The 16 valves usually had the teardrops, and they were an inch bigger. And then I noticed, oh wait, the Euro bumpers. Oh wait, and then the Scala. I didn't read the Scala part. I remember reading about this car in like Volkswagen tuner magazines back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, I've never seen one of these in real life. I've only heard of them. My buddy Zach had a 16-valve Scirocco. His was one of the last years. He had an 88, and his had the Euro bumpers, which were super rare, like this car does. Most of the 16-valve Scirocco's had those big diving boards on the front and back, but this had the color matched and then the white stripes on the rear lights. That interior is not an interior that you could get in America except in the Cabrio, like you talked about your girlfriend. It's amazing to see the dashboard isn't all cracked up in this thing. That steering wheel is also not the steering wheel that came in the American ones of this car. Looking under the dashboard, or not under the dashboard, but under the hood in the pictures, that engine cover is super. There's just nothing there. There's no air conditioning. This would be a tough car to have in the desert. But back in Seattle where I grew up, it was more like the defroster work. That's all you're really worried about back then. Does this, and I'm sure it has, does this one have power windows? No, it has roll-up windows. I love that. And a roll-up sunroof. Like, everything's just like so mechanical in these darn things. And there's something about the Scirocco, the 16-valve, even though the specs were pretty much identical to like a GTI, these were just more fun to drive. They harkened to the Lotus Esprit of the era, and this car just needs to be lowered a little bit, and it is good. It would be good to go. This is a dream Scirocco. I haven't seen one this nice since 1992. Sahan, what do you think of the Scirocco?
This car is immaculate.
Yeah.
I am baffled at how clean this car is, and it has all of the cool factors that you'd want. I mean, it would give you all the feelings that you're looking for driving it. I when it comes to this car, I have I just want an Audi Quattro instead, and that's just my personal thing. You know what I mean? Because they're so similar, and the Quattro kind of fits me a little bit better. But that aside, this car is perfect. Like, if you're looking for a cool Scirocco, there's no reason. I mean, you look no further. This is about as cool as it gets. It's great.
There's no better front wheel drive car in my opinion. You can take that Type R, even if it wasn't a clapped out race one or anything that Honda makes or anything new that Volkswagen makes, the new Golf R, you can keep it. I'd rather have this car. I'm kind of with you on I love those Audis that you're talking about, Sahan. You have some rear wheel drive if you get a Quattro or whatever. Right. But this is definitely all torque steer all the time. There's no LSD. It's you're hanging on. We're going over here. Oh, we're going over here now. I mean, it's just that's just so much fun. Man, I'm just dying over this car. The question is, how much is it going to cost for something like this? And will it be on par with something like a Type R, Acura or something like that? How much is it going to bring, Michael Deep?
So I don't think we're going to see Type R money, but I think we're going to see really strong money for this era of Volkswagen. I mean, these are essentially Mark IIs, right, John? Or is this a Mark III?
Okay, so the Scirocco gets really weird in that regard because what do they call them, A1s or S1s or whatever. When there was the Type 1 or Mark 1, call it Rabbit, right? And that's basically what everything was built on. You had the Rabbit, the GTI, the Jetta, and the Scirocco were all Type 1s. Or Mark 1s. And then, call it like 82, 83. The 82 was the first year of this body style Scirocco, but it was still built on the Mark 1 platform. Whereas in 84, they introduced the Golf Mark 2. And everything was built on a Mark II platform from there, except for the Cabrios. The Cabrios were always the Sciroccos, and the Cabrios were still only Mark 1s, which is so. This is a Mark II Scirocco, but it's built on the Mark I platform, which is weird because the Rabbits looked like a rabbit with plastic on it. Right, from the cabriolets that started, I think, in 80 or 81, looked like a 74 or 75 Rabbit, like all the other Rabbits did, and never changed except for stuff that they tacked onto it. Whereas the Scirocco, when it got its update for the Mark II, really looked drastically different from the Mark I, yet was still built on that same old platform. So it is kind of a weird. I know that's a much longer answer than you wanted, but
that was great. That was
we're going. This is the nerd right here. This is all nerd all the time.
That was great. I was eating it up. I was like, I started making popcorn. I'm like, this is amazing.
Serve it up on the nerd platter. How much is this gonna bring, my man?
Yeah, because you started off by, well, this gets really murky, and then you gave me a lot of words, and you never answered the question. So I love it, which is perfect. I'll give you some more, JP, because I'm reading about this car as we're going through it. The American Scirocco's allegedly made 123 horsepower. The European ones made 127, but some of the Sciroccos were sold in certain markets in Europe where they didn't have to have a catalytic converter. And those cars had a different fuel injection system as well, and they made 139 horsepower. This car allegedly is equipped with a cat, thus it's going to be 127 horsepower. But still, it would be kind of neat if you could bring one in and find it in on an exemption where you could have that 139 horsepower motor. That would be, I mean, JP, come on, that'd be a little bit extra fun. So, John, sitting down, I hope you're sitting down. This is a no reserve auction. They are going to sell this car in 2 days from now out of Jacksonville, Florida. Our car is already up to $22,750, and I think it's just going to keep going from there. The feedback is positive. The Bid Nerd Mojo. I'm going to give you $35,000 where I think it will find a home. And again, no reserve. So whatever the number is, JP, that's a selling number. Where do you think you're going to go over me at 35 grand? You think this will hit 40?
Oh boy. I mean, we've never seen one get this high. We've seen Corrados get in the, darn near 50s. We've seen Mark II GTIs bring the moon. But we've also never seen a Scirocco this freaking nice. I'm going to say, boy, look, the Nerd Herd is with me on this one. Everyone is in the 40s or better.
Damn.
And I am with them.
They sell a pill for that.
Yeah, I'm going to go $40,016 and hand it over to Sahan.
Yeah, I think it's probably capped right around that $40,000 to $45,000 mark because other similar cars of that era, like, are that are built up, or like the Quattro, for instance. I think like the craziest turbo motor swapped ones were like 50 something, and the clean examples were going for that 40. That being said, this is probably the cleanest and most interesting kind of original Scirocco that you could buy. So I'll come in just over 40 and go 41.16.
Wow, you're tapping right above me, Dick. All right, nice move.
How does that make you feel, John?
I hate.
I did the show with you for 2 years before anybody could tap you like that.
Well, everyone's with you. I mean, like almost all the bids. I mean, Anthony's in at 56.5. Ross is 54. Hans is at 46. Randy B is down there. He's like the only one that's under 40. He's saying 39,750. Man,
Can't
Kevin
believe I'm the low man
Simon's
man.
at 40 grand.
Awesome.
David is coming in at 48. Buddha is at 42.5. Lee Patet in the house, 4201.
At two, Lee, at two.
Yeah, and that's
Lee
because
likes it because it's white. Lee just wants it because it's white. That's why. If this car
no,
were any
he's
other color,
comparing
Lee would
it
be
to
in
the
30s.
R4200S, and that's. We
He's
came up with
concerned about
it.
the
So Lee, the cinematographer on the film that we shot with Rami last weekend, we came up with a theory that basically, if you walk up to someone and go, "What do you guys think of the R?" fill in the blank number S, everyone's gonna be like, I don't know, maybe the R fill in the blank number S is better. Is it the R4200S or was that better than the R6300S? No one will ever challenge you on those things, that nomenclature, because that just might be some car, and no one's gonna want to look like the idiot and not know what it is. Lee Patet, he definitely thinks the 33 millimeter bearings on the viscous thing is probably the way to go. Anyways, that's it. Those are our bids, our predictions for the show today. Thanks for playing along, Nerd Herd. You guys make it a hell of a lot more fun than Sahan. Sahan, I think you're better in the chat. Sorry, I don't know. Bringing you on the show, just like
just mad.
I'm just pissed that you just I like it $2 over me. I'm gonna just like seethe on that for the rest of the week. I'm just kidding, son. Love having you on the show. Shout out to our friends Mental, that AKA Switcher Gary. He's out doing lemons racing
on the road
because of course he is, and he'll tell you all about it. How do you know someone's into lemon racing? They'll tell you. But you can see Switcher Gary on Everyone Racers. You can check out all the Derfossination films that we've been putting out, having fun with that. Lots of new stuff on the channel there. Michael D, where can we find you?
Reach out to me, direct message, and I can help you sell your car on Haggerty Marketplace online or in one of our live auctions. We've got Amelia Island coming up in March, and we are taking consignments now. So reach out and let me know if you have a car that I can help you sell.
Sahan, is there a place that we can find you on the social interwebs? Anything you want to plug?
Find me as the Persian Pillow. Nothing to plug. All you see is me lifting weights and my car making noise. That's about it.
See, everyone thought we were being racist at the beginning of the show. It's Persian Pillow. He came up with that, not us.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you guys Wednesday night. Do us a favor and spread the word. Grow the herd. Get out there and make some comments in the bid section, in the comment section on other, like if you're on BAT, if you're on one of those platforms, you're on Cars and Bids, like mention us in the comments. That stuff just seems to get us tons more viewers. So spread the word out there, guys. You guys are doing a great job growing the channel, and we really enjoy doing this with you guys a couple times a week. We will talk about maybe getting it started a little earlier in the future, but we're just going to finish the show. I'm going to shut the hell up. No!